Hey guys, it's Kayla and welcome back to my channel. So today's video we are going to do something similar to if you like this book then you'll like this book. We are going to do if you liked this book you'll like this podcast. I am a huge podcast enthusiast and I felt like I should show the book community some podcasts that I really like. And if you guys like this kind of video and you eventually need more recommendations, then we can make this a series because I have so many podcasts that I listen to. The first book I have for you guys is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. And if you enjoyed this book, then you will enjoy the podcast My Brother, and Me. So My Brother, and Me is a podcast that has your hosts Justin, Travis, and Griffin McElroy, and they have been doing this podcast for 10 years. They have recently hit their 500th episode, and each episode is basically kind of the same thing, where it is an advice show to the modern era, and the readers will read Yahoo questions, and they will give their advice and their answers to those questions. So silly. It's so cute. Every episode I listen to, I just love the banter between the brothers. And I compared this to Hitchhiker's Guide because from what I have read of Hitchhiker's Guide, it is like stupid and crazy and like it's just so weird, but it's good at the same time. And that's how I feel about My Brother, and Me. It's stupid, it's weird, and it's still very like amazing. Second one I have for you guys is if you enjoyed I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara, I think you guys would enjoy the podcast Creepy Caffeine. So Creepy Caffeine is hosted by Whitney and Danny, and they basically do true crime and paranormal stories, and they just kind of go back and forth and talk about it after they tell their stories. I really like it because there are so many true crime podcasts out there, but this one is one that I really feel like the hosts are very authentic. They're not trying to make a huge grand production. They feel like normal people telling normal true crime and paranormal stories. And I love that. And so I compared it to I'll Be Gone in the Dark because I'll Be Gone in the Dark is a nonfiction book about the Golden State Killer. Third book I have for you guys is if you enjoyed Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, I think you will enjoy the podcast Scaryish. So I have mentioned Scaryish before in one of my vlogs, but Scaryish is hosted by Adam Diaz and Robin Grace, and they talk about paranormal, scary-ish things. And so while it is similar to Creepy Caffeine, it is different because they do more ghost-ish stories and like paranormal stories, and I am obsessed with them. They are so sweet. They're so funny. While it is a paranormal podcast, it feels comforting to listen to Adam and Robin talk about it. And I compared it to Into the Drowning Deep because Into the Drowning Deep is a story about mermaids, and they're not nice mermaids. They're very scary. And Into the Drowning Deep is such a scary read, and I feel like listening to Scaryish sometimes gives me the creeps, and Into the Drowning Deep definitely gave me all the creeps. So my fourth book is 5 Feet Apart. If you enjoyed 5 Feet Apart, I think you would enjoy the podcast Sick Boy. So Sick Boy is a podcast about illness and different medical things. The reason I like Sick Boy is it does not talk about the disease or the issue or things like that specifically. It talks about how that particular person deals with that. So they have done episodes such as glaucoma, they've done abortion, they've done cancer, they've done almost every type of cancer. They've done endometriosis, they've done phimosis, I could go on. And there are such funny moments, but still being very like, I have this disease, I have this illness, I have this thing, this is how my life goes, this is how I function day to day. And the hosts of the podcast that interview these people are 3 friends. So Brian and Taylor are healthy humans, and Jeremy, the main host, actually has cystic fibrosis. And the reason I connected it to 5 Feet Apart is because the 2 main characters of 5 Feet Apart have cystic fibrosis, and people with cystic fibrosis cannot be near other people with cystic fibrosis because it can make each other more sick, and they could eventually die sooner than the life expectancy of someone with cystic fibrosis can. And I loved 5 Feet Apart. I found 5 Feet Apart because of Sick Boy, because one of the producers for the movie is friends with the hosts of Sick Boy, and I've actually met Sick Boy. I met them at ACL 2 or 3 years ago, and it was the greatest experience of my life. I will insert a picture here of me and Sick Boy. So yeah, the next one I have is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, and I am comparing this book to the podcast Wonderful. Wonderful is a podcast hosted by Griffin and Rachel McElroy, again with these McElroy people. Wonderful is basically Rachel and Griffin, and they talk each episode about things that they think are wonderful. And so in the most recent episode that I listened to, I'm still trying to catch up. I'm very far in their backlog, but Rachel talked about journaling, and she talked about the history of journaling. And then Griffin talked about one of his favorite artists, and they talked about Lizzo. They talk about candy corn. They talk about Halloween. They just talk about things that are wonderful, and it just makes you so happy because you can just listen to Griffin and Rachel just talk about things that they like, and no bummers. Like, there's really no bummers. And so it's just a great podcast to listen to really feel happy because people are talking about things that they like. And I've compared this to Get a Life, Chloe Brown, because throughout the book of Get a Life, Chloe Brown, she goes from having all these bummers in her life, and she makes wonderful things. She meets wonderful people. She experiences wonderful things. And it's wonderful. Like, I can't say anything other than wonderful. Final one I have for you guys is, if you liked the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, you will like The Adventure Zone by the McElroy brothers. I promise in the next video I won't mention McElroy brothers, McElroy family podcasts. But The Adventure Zone is a podcast that has Justin, Travis, Griffin, and their dad, Clint, and they play Dungeons and Dragons together. That's all really I have to say, because that's what they do. They play Dungeons and Dragons together, and every episode is a new day in their campaign, or a new session in their campaign. And I have compared this to the Wheel of Time series just because atmosphere and like Dungeons and Dragons-esque things.
Shut your stupid ass up! Say that, folks! What is your dumb ass say it?
And that's all I really have to say about that. If you liked this video, if you've listened to any of these podcasts, if you've read any of these books, let me know. Let me know if you liked this idea, and if you did, maybe we can do more podcasts next time. And I had so much fun making this video and coming up with this video because I only have a few people in my life I can talk to about podcasts, and the people that are in my life that listen to podcasts don't listen to all of these with me. So if you do listen to these, please let me know. Let's talk about them. And yeah, so that's all I have. So if you enjoyed this, leave me a comment, a like, subscribe if you want to see more of my face. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.